that I rise today to co-anchor this CBC Special Order Hour along with my distinguished colleague, Rep. Kamla Dove. For the next 60 minutes, members of the CBC have an opportunity to speak directly to the American people on erasing Black history, an issue of great importance to the Congressional Black Caucus, Congress, and the constituents we represent, and all Americans. It is with great honor that I rise today to lead this CBC Special Order Hour. For the next hour, members of the CBC will speak directly to the American people on the topic of Black history and ongoing efforts to erase that history. Mr. Speaker, this is a time of fear, worry, and anxiety for millions of Americans. President Trump said that he was going to usher in a golden age. But after 119 long days of this presidency, it hasn't felt like a golden age. It's felt like a dark age, especially for Black Americans. President Trump and his administration have attacked diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the government, in schools, and in the private sector. President Trump has rolled back anti-discrimination laws, and Trump has tried to freeze federal funds that benefit Black communities, including in my district, in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. And it's not just about his actions, it's also about his words, rhetoric, and value. President Trump and his allies have blamed diversity, which is just code for Black people, for the January plane crash at Reagan Airport, for the South Carolina wildfires, the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore, even the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, and on and on and on. If something goes wrong somewhere, anywhere, in their mind, diversity, equity, and inclusion is to blame. In President Trump's vision, every Black American on the job, every woman, every immigrant is a DEI hire. A DEI hire who is blocking more qualified white men from the jobs and positions of power that are rightfully theirs. And President Trump has the audacity to talk about his agenda being about restoring meritocracy. They use that word over and over and over again in their executive orders. Meritocracy. The meritocracy of his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, an unqualified TV host, texting war plans to people by accident. The meritocracy of his Health Human Services, Mr. Robert Kennedy Jr., a conspiracy theorist whose primary experience in healthcare and science is using Google. The meritocracy of Elon Musk's unvetted, unqualified, and unaccountable minions at Doge. And the spoken and unspoken message behind all of this is that Black Americans and other minorities don't deserve a seat at the table, and we don't have merit. And the impact is real. Last month in my district, a man checked out 100 books on Black, Jewish, and LGBTQ topics from the Beechwood Public Library. He didn't check out those books to read them. He checked them out to burn them. And he didn't do it in secret. Oh no, he didn't hide behind shame. No, he posted this on social media because he wanted people to see. See, this kind of hate doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's part of a disturbing wave we're seeing across the country. A wave fueled sometimes with a wink and a nod, sometimes with a bullhorn, by leaders who should know better than to fan the flames of division for political gain. A wave normalized by the Secretary of Defense banning books about diversity and deleting Pentagon websites highlighting the service of women, LGBTQ people, and minority service members, including Major League Baseball legend Jackie Robinson. Mr. Speaker, what happened in my district isn't just censorship, it is an act of hate. plain and simple. And I've joined leaders from across Northeast Ohio in condemning this act. These attempts to erase the voices of marginalized communities are an attack on the values of inclusion, empathy, and understanding. You can only truly have a community with understanding. And to understand your neighbor, you have to understand history. That's our topic tonight. History. And I'm deeply concerned by the ongoing effort to erase Black history from our museums, from our schools, and from American life. See, last month, President Trump issued an executive order to, quote, restore truth and sanity to American history. And of course, there are all kinds of debate when it comes to history. That's how we advance knowledge. But is that what Trump cares about when he talks about truth? Of course not. His executive order directed Vice President Vance and the Secretary of the Interior, two individuals who are not historians, to remove objects, exhibits, and funding from the Smithsonian museums and national parks that don't fit Trump's agenda or Trump's incorrect version of history. That bears repeating. Trump's incorrect version of history. And think about all the Smithsonian museums, all national parks, all the historical exhibits around the country. Now, where do you think they've directed most of their attention? That's right. Their main focus has been on the National Museum of African American History and Culture, right down the street on the National Mall. Are you surprised? You shouldn't be. Trump's executive order mentioned that museum by name out of hundreds across America and laid the foundation for denying future federal funds. And one thing we've seen from this administration, they mean what they say. This is such a radical shift, and it's happened in just a short time. Trump's takeover of the Republican Party seems like it's been forever. But it hasn't always been like this. When the National Museum of African American History opened in 2016, it was a bipartisan celebration. Joining President Obama that day was President Bush and Republican Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. These aren't woke individuals by any means, but they understood the importance of that museum being on the National Mall. And in a perverse way, Trump does too. That's why he's attacking it. But Black America is not taking this sitting down. In the last month, Black churches from across the country have organized trips to the museum and fundraisers to support it. Black America raised their voices when Pete Hegseth tried to erase the history of Jackie Robinson, because our history matters. Black excellence should be celebrated. The role we have played in shaping our country should be recognized. And the pain and legacy of slavery and discrimination should be understood. Because if we don't reckon with our past, we will never understand the present, and we will never build a better future. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we know it's not just the president that wants to erase Black history, and we know the backlash didn't start just this year. In 2023, the state of Florida, our nation's third most populous state, released education guidelines that included that slavery provided benefits. Benefits, because slaves were able to learn skills. They now require that's part of their curriculum, that slavery was beneficial, some type of workforce training program. Florida also launched a comprehensive effort to ban advanced placement courses on Black history, while local school districts were newly empowered to ban books on Black history. This is a nationwide problem. In fact, there are now more states where teaching Black history has been restricted than there are states where it is required. That's right. Only 12 states out of 50 require Black history be taught. While there are now 18 states that have passed legislation restricting Black history education, and here's why this matters. We know there is inequality in this country. No one would deny that. We know who overwhelmingly has the wealth and the power and the influence, and who doesn't. In America, for every $100 in wealth owned by white households, Black households own $15. And you can find statistics like that no matter how you slice it on housing, health, savings, you name it. Last week, we were debating nutrition benefits and food stamps in this body. In my district, 1 in 3 Black households rely on food stamps. For the white households, it's 1 in 10. And this is the heart of the issue. Do you recognize, like I do, like my CBC colleagues do, that this discrepancy did not happen by accident? It didn't happen by accident. It happened by design. Or do you deny and think that all the racial inequality in this country is really the fault of Black people? That's really the argument. And the only way you can make that case is to erase history, whitewash history, and rewrite history. That's why history matters. That's why our museums matter. That's why our books and our literature and our experiences matter. And that's why we are going to keep fighting back.